Hey guys, Nick Yoss, your host at Pavement After Hours, and my guest today is Mia, and today we're
Hello.
going to be talking about sales. Sales, ABCs, and 1, 2, 3 with Mia. How's it going, Mia?
It's going great, Nick. How's it going?
It's going. So maybe you could just kind of walk people through like what your process of doing sales in a day, details, how you set things up,
Okay. So,
maybe make a phone call.
No.
An actual phone call.
I
and
have
show
phone
people how to do
phobia in
it.
front of people, guys. It's a real thing. Promise. So, I come here, I go on the computer, and I go on Google Earth, and I find places to go. They need new driveways, parking lots. Then I print them out, and then I go there.
So you kind of set your day up. You find
Yeah.
where you're going to stop.
Yep.
Maximize the benefits, the most places you can stop at one time.
Yeah.
And
And then I go to my places, and I talk to them, and then I walk the parking lot with them, if they're there, or leave them my card. And then I go to the place next door or around.
And I mean, I think one of the things is that training in sales and all that stuff is, you know, as well as I do, but maybe people that are tuning in don't, is that you do not want to ask them what needs to be done. You
No.
want to tell them what needs to be
Yeah.
done.
I learned what needs to be done last year when I was measuring driveways.
Right. So you point out like the trip hazards and
Yep.
always point out that it's cheaper to fix their work than it is to.
Get your driveway done, not a lawsuit.
Yeah, exactly. It's a lot cheaper to fix it than it is to be sued for somebody tripping in a hole.
Yep.
So, and getting it done the right way, there's a benefit to that. I mean, there's a lot of people that, you know, think that the only way they're going to get the work is to be cheaper. So they'll
No,
quote
because then they're going to need it done next year.
well, right, and that's one of the things you have to sell them on is, hey, we're going to be more expensive, but
And it's
we're
cheaper.
not just filling the hole with asphalt.
Let them know that it's cheaper getting the whole parking lot done when it ripped out and redone than
Yeah.
seal coated.
Or letting them know a lot of times, like if the parking lot is too far gone, that
Alligator cracks.
if it's too far gone, that seal coating is not doing anything to it. You're better off to save that money as a down payment on your new parking lot than to just put lipstick on a pig. So, and then, I mean, as far as like follow up,
Oh yeah. I normally wait Monday through Friday, so 4 days.
4 days.
Yeah.
And then your first, what you just,
Or like it was Tuesday, I wait till
so you do a
Monday.
follow up
yeah.
after like 4 days, kind of call, make sure they got the bid,
Yeah.
see how it's going, kind of feel them out.
Mm-hmm.
But then when do you just mark it as a dead lead? When is enough because you called them a ton of times and they're not answering? And I mean, after the first initial follow-up call in 4 days, what's your next step?
If they don't answer?
No, if they answer, but they say, yeah, I got it, everything's looking good, I'll be in contact. Like, how long do you wait? Do you follow up with an email? Do you follow up with another call?
After they already got their bid?
Yeah. After you've made your first initial call
Oh. The next week?
the next week.
Yeah. It was Monday. I wait till Monday.
So the next week you follow up again.
And then after
But-
that, and they still say the same thing, like a week and 4 days.
A week and 4 days.
No, that's like perfect timing. It's
And
not
then
like
if
a
they
full 2
don't,
weeks.
and then so you take more of a pushier sales approach.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think,
Well, I'm trying to help them out.
well, that's true. You're not, and that's where I think some people in sales fail, is because they think that they're being a nuisance, they're being a problem, so they don't call and follow up as much as they should, or they let it kind of go because they think that they're being a nuisance, where, like you said, you're helping them out. You're offering them a service. You're offering them to prevent maybe getting a lawsuit. So
Yeah.
that's
And it's, isn't
the
it
squeaky
cheaper?
wheel gets the grease.
Isn't it cheaper per square foot if they do more of the parking lot?
Well, I mean, yeah, it's always going to go down if the more you do, because
So just
If
get your
you're
whole parking
there-
lot done.
but budgets don't always allow that.
Budgets.
That's where the whole
Take out a loan.
salesperson, project management type thing comes in. I mean, ideally, yeah, everybody should get all their parking lot done, but knowing how to handle that sales without losing it, if you come in and say, or if you're too pushy and say you need the whole parking lot done, and then
Okay.
you're just pushy on needing the whole parking lot done, they're going to go with somebody who's going to fit in their budget, even if that person's not giving them the right stuff. So you
So
have to educate them on
let's
how we can
say-
set them up with a budget to do the worst parts this year and more next year, or
Let's
you
say
know.
I had a guy that asked how much square footage it is per parking lot. He
there's
doesn't have a
no
certain.
square footage price.
He doesn't
That's
have a
one
certain
thing we
area.
covered on the last episode that I can't stress more in this industry to get out of your head. There is no square foot price. There's
Well,
no
then
such
I'm gonna
thing
have
as a
to
square foot
re-email a
price.
guy.
Because, well, okay, so there's a square foot price. This is where the
You
confusion
just
gets
said
in.
there's not a square
There's not a square. Okay, so here's the thing. When
Make up
you
your
do a
mind,
bid,
Nick.
when you do a bid, and most bid softwares are going to give you a square foot price because they break down the price by the quantity there. So you can figure out on every job a square foot price, and your software is probably going to do that for you. That's where people get in their head that there's this magical square foot price of, I'm going to go pave 50,000 square feet. It's $2 a square foot. Yes, it gets broke down for ease of configuring us as a square foot price, but every square foot price is different. There's no magic square foot price that everybody in our industry thinks that there is. I can just go get 10, 20 cents a square foot for seal coating or $2 for. You have to figure out what it is because there's so many variables. Company A might pay less for material but more for labor, but they might get things done more proficient because they have better equipment than company B. You have to figure out how far is the plant from there, how much the work is. So, but yes, in what you're talking about is if we do more at the job, the price is going to be cheaper to do 100,000 square feet than it is going to be to do 50,000 square feet because you're not moving the equipment there twice. You've got breaks and material. You can get more, material to the job site quicker. You're there. You're already set up. You don't have to pay to set up twice. So, yes, you will get a break the more square footage you do, but there is not a magical square foot number. And we covered that on the first episode with showing people how to actually price a bid. If you guys haven't seen that episode and you're struggling with pricing your work, I suggest you go watch that.
Go watch.
Because, in doing sales, and it's the same thing that we kind of covered in the first episode with estimating and bidding it, do not worry about your competitors. Do not worry about your competitors. Worry about yourself. When you go do sales, I mean, one of the things when I was doing sales is I wasn't selling asphalt. I was selling Synergy Pavement Group. I was selling our services that, we were a big enough company that we're not going to have to call and push you off because we didn't get a payment. We couldn't pay for material. We don't have to call and push you off if we have a rain day because we have enough crews to go kind of set up. We've got the right amount of barricades. We're overinsured. So, I mean, those are all things is that I've always said to people, if I'm giving you 30% more, but my price is only 20% more, doesn't that make me the lowest bidder?
No.
Yeah, it does. I mean, it doesn't make me the
Sorry.
lowest bidder in price,
I
but
didn't
it does
comprehend
make
that
me
right.
the lowest. I mean, technically, yes. If you can get 30, so if you're going to buy a TV and you go to Costco and you can get a no brand TV that's a 50-inch for $300. But if I can go get double that TV for only $100 more, isn't that the better deal?
Yes.
It's not the cheapest deal, but it's the better deal because you're getting 50% more for only
Wouldn't that be like the same
30% more in price. No.
Double the TV.
Doubled it. So let's say
Okay, so you have the hang on.
Costco.
You have the TV.
Yeah. No,
It's
I'm saying
$50.
Costco has a TV for $300. It's
Oh.
a 55-inch TLC.
I thought you said 50.
But you go to Best
So yes,
Buy,
this is the better deal.
and for $400, $100 more, you get a 75-inch TV that's a Samsung.
Yes.
It's not the cheapest deal, but it's the better deal. So if I'm offering 30% more for only 20% more price, it's not the cheapest deal, but it's the better deal.
Yeah.
So those are kind of topics you have to cover with your people. I think where a lot of people in our industry kind of fail to see is that some people only can offer price. They can't sell. Like you said, a phobia of talking in front of people on the phone to make a phone call. That's real. That's real for people who panic like that to even go in and talk to them.
No, I'm fine talking to them.
No, I know, but what I'm saying is there are people that have the phobia that can't even go in the door, that can't even go in, and they'll know that this place needs.
Guys, so I sit in my car when I get there for like 5 minutes and just listen to music. You gotta hype yourself up a little bit. No, I'm serious. You hype yourself up, and you have to pretend like, even if you don't know what you're talking about, you gotta pretend like you do. I know what I'm talking about.
That is like you hit the head on there.
Thank you.
No, seriously, in sales, that was when I started off, I was 18 years old, going in and all that stuff is like, you have to know how to
fake it till you make it.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of true. You have to know how to fake it a little bit, because they don't, I mean, yes, you get caught up in some big technical question. I'm a big believer of saying, hey, I don't know the answer to that, but hey, we got a great, backup staff back at the office. Let me find that answer out for you. But there are some times that you do have to kind of know how to, sell it.
You gotta read people.
That's true.
I had to read the people, and I'm like, you gotta see. Like, sometimes they throw some jokes in there. It's pretty funny. And then we gotta be more personable with them.
Read the people once again, like you said. I mean, I've
Or
seen,
you're like a robot.
especially being a female in asphalt sales. 90% of the time, it's going to benefit you, because if I walk in and some guy's having a bad day, he's like, get the heck out of here. If you walk in, they're going to listen. But I've seen women salespeople lose out on the job because some guy was sexist and didn't believe that they were going to be able to do the work. So that still exists.
We're not doing the work.
Well, we have girls on our asphalt crew that do work.
Yeah, we have girls on our crew, and they're better than the guys.
They do outwork a lot of the guys,
Yeah.
but some people are still.
Sydney and Rachel.
So, but we kind of got off track. It was like I was getting back at is if you're running the company and you're great at doing the work, but you're not good at sales, that's when you need to look into hiring somebody or bringing somebody on that can go do your sales. Whether you pay them commission percentage-wise, or it's a salary, or it's a salary with commissions, and that's something you got to figure out for your area, because once again, everybody's cost of living and area is different, so you have to figure that out. But I strongly suggest if sales is not your strong point, hiring somebody to bring it in, because you can. I've always said this about, I can teach anybody to run a paver. I can teach anybody to seal coat. I can teach anybody how to do sales, but I can teach somebody to run a paver in a week. It takes years to teach somebody how to do sales, and I mean, you're good at it at such a young age because I've been training you since you were 5 years old to do sales and asphalt.
Basically, take it as like a dude saying that you can't have a lollipop when you're like 5. Because you're not going to say no. Or you're not going to let them say no.
And some people are going to have a natural ability to learn and enjoy and be better at sales than other people. Yeah. You have to learn different things. I'm a big believer of getting in front of people. That sales approach is going to go 1,000 times farther than sending out what I call dead emails. I mean, you can hire companies to send out 1,000 emails cheaper than hiring a salesperson. How many of us get hundreds of emails a day that are like, I want to meet with you, I want to talk with you, that just get deleted?
Yeah, and the calls, like the whole, hi, I'm Mia from Synergy Pavement Group. Like, if I would have got that call, sometimes I would have been like, this sounds like robotic.
The calls, though, work. They're a setup.
Yeah,
the calls are not, you're not just going to call somebody.
Meeting up with someone.
That's the best approach, meeting up with them. You have to do some calling because you have to set up. If you can call, and even if the person in the front says, oh, yeah, that's Dave, and you don't get a hold of Dave, you at least know when you stop there now, you know to go in and ask for Dave. And they're going to be that gatekeeper that 90% of businesses have, that gatekeeper at the front whose main job is just to defend Dave from getting a sales call or are getting approached. And trust me, I get it because I have one now too.
Who,
But
Hannah?
yeah, but the thing is that there are sometimes sales that I'm like, yes, I do need that. I do need that. I've been searching for somebody. This is, and you don't want them to push that person out when you might need that sale. So we're not bothering people with BS sales calls of like, hey, who's your internet provider? Who's this? I mean, we're offering a solution to something that isn't always looked at. I feel like parking lots get kind of pushed in budget numbers all the ways to the end. That's why there's so many bad parking lots, because they get pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed.
What's the first thing you see?
It's your welcome mat. Yeah, it's the first thing people are pulling into. It's the first
You're
thing.
gonna trip over a pothole. We're
Yeah.
walking in, like, say I pull up to dinner, right? And park my car, and like the parking lot kind of looks rough, so I'm like, is this place run down? You know? And then I trip over a pothole. So now my foot's broken. And all I just wanted to come here was to eat some freaking crab
Right.
legs.
And there are,
Red Lobster.
for
coming
every
you.
one, there are legitimate lawsuits. Like people got hurt.
Mm-hmm.
They tripped in your pothole. They didn't see it. They were older. It happens. There's legitimate lawsuits. But for every one legitimate lawsuit, there's 10 that are out there that people are looking. You're a target. You're a business. You're a target.
Mm-hmm.
And you've got a hole. You step in it. They twist their ankle or they fake it or something. Or even if they legitimately did trip in it, they're seeing dollar signs, man. Like everybody thinks that when you start in business, you're like, hey, I'm starting in business. They're like, well, here's your money tree. Take good care of it. And like we just, as long as we water and talk to our money tree, we're loaded. And it's not necessarily true.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, definitely corporations have funds set up. They can afford the lawsuits. If they're stupid enough to not take care of their parking lots, that's on them. But medium-sized, small business people, take care of your parking lots because you guys can't afford it to have a lawsuit and defend it. I mean, even just defending yourself. Somebody just says they slipped in your part or tripped in a hole.
Mm-hmm.
Like you're going to spend 10 grand just defending yourself. Even if you have a video camera and they're like, no, that didn't happen that way. They file the lawsuit and they're a person who got one of these ambulance chasers that's going to do it on a percentage. They're not paying anything. You're going to have to drop $5 grand in a retainer to an attorney immediately. And they're going to tell you that that's going to get you, oh yeah, we're going to get it settled for that. And 2 years later, after you've wasted a ton of time and you got 20,000 in, that same attorney is going to tell you in a mediation to settle for $10,000. It's not worth it. That $30,000 could be your whole new parking lot, if not half.
Okay, so if they get their parking lot done, how long until they need it done again?
Well, if they get their parking
not
lot,
seal coated.
yeah, I mean, if their parking lot gets done and they take care of it, and once again, this is kind of a loaded question, kind of like the square foot pricing and all that stuff, but every area is different.
If they take care of it, though.
Up in the Midwest, when you're getting several freeze thaws a year, you're getting salt on it, you're getting it plowed, it's not going to last nearly as long as a parking lot in Florida. I remember when we first went down and started doing work in Florida, you know, we're 2.5, 3 inches of asphalt up here. And I saw guys down there going, holy crap. They're literally overlaying alligator spots with a 1/2 inch of asphalt. And 5 years later, it still looks good because they don't get the freeze thaw. They don't get the salt. They don't get the snow plows. So, but I mean, general rule of thumb, if you take care and maintain a parking lot, I mean, 20, 30 years, depending if you did an overlay or a complete rip out, but 20, 30 years safely if you maintain it the right way. I've seen some last longer. I've seen some last not as long. It all depends on your base.
Yeah.
It's all about that base. Base. I would rather have
I'm selling a driveway today.
2 inches of asphalt on super good base than 5 inches of asphalt on crappy base.
So when are we getting our driveway done?
I mean,
Catch there.
that's a loaded question again, too, because I just sat there and said, driveways last 30 years, and I think ours is 8, and we're planning on ripping it out again. Not because
We're
of a
ripping it
quality
out.
issue, but
It's just because we
we
suck at parking and
need more space.
literally have the biggest driveway in our neighborhood, but we can't park.
And because we own the company, it's cheaper for us to tear it out and do it than it would be if you have to hire
Are
somebody.
we putting
but
the stencils in?
Yes. No, I'm a big believer of, especially on a driveway.
Mm-hmm.
You're putting in a driveway.
It's not
Throw
that
a
much.
few accents in there. We do little border stamping,
Get
the address
driveway.
box.
Yeah, the address box.
It looks good. I mean, how many compliments do we get
My
all
friends
the
call my
time
driveway the fancy driveway.
from people going,
Yeah, the
you have
fancy
our
driveway.
dream driveway?
For real. It makes the house look better, too.
It does. It adds to your resale value.
Yeah. You can do
It
colors,
adds to your,
right?
yeah.
What
different
colors?
We did red and gray.
Yeah, but what colors can they get?
Oh, I mean, any color.
Any color?
Any color.
Pink?
You can get pink.
You can get a pink driveway.
You know, you can have a whole pink driveway if you want. I don't know if that's going to make friends with your neighbors, and I'm not so sure that that's going to add to the resale value of your house. But
Probably will.
if you own a bridal shop, a pink parking lot could actually be kind of cool.
We'll see. People
And
don't
it
know
goes
about
back
colors.
to it goes back in. It's all about the sales.
What if we yeah, exactly.
All about the
Nobody knows about the colors. Everyone's just like, oh, the driveway has to be black. No.
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 I mean, you can sell them on colors for the heat index.
Mhm.
In cities are hotter and getting hotter because of all the black roofs and black parking lots. So there's a lot of cities nowadays that are not wanting, you know, they'll offer you got, and you got to sell this to the people too. Like a lot of times, like we had that program going on last year in the area that people didn't know about that actually gave you money for putting in asphalt driveways. And we were able to get some sales because we knew about that. And we were able to help them with the application process. And it didn't pay for the whole driveway, but it gave them, you know, a couple grand for down payment to help out with the parking lot. And there's incentives like that in certain cities for, you know, the whole climate change thing. Whether you believe it or not, you've got programs out there for it. And you might as well take advantage of those to, you know, sprucing up your business. But it goes back to the whole thing. That's part of sales. And if you can't get in front of them, it's hard to tell people about your warranty, the color seals, the different options that we have. And that's why I'm a big believer of getting in front of the people so you can show them the marketing material and show them what we have and tell them, hey, this is what I'd do if I were you, man. I mean, if this was my business, I'm a huge person on branding. branding, and help your customers brand their business with their parking lot.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Well, so what do you do for marketing? For
marketing, I mean, obviously,
for driveways first.
Driveway marketing. Well, we do all right. So yeah, for driveways, I'm a big believer in door hangers.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like having door hangers made, you can get them cheap these days, and having our sales staff just hammer out the neighborhoods, because that, once again, people are getting that right away. Google AdWords, trade shows in your area. You know, a lot of areas have a home show or something, but my recommendation, if you're going to do a trade show, get in the front, because if you get in the back, it's a waste of money. And
Been there, done that.
And be careful of the trick-or-treaters. If they do a free home show, free admission, and you got some really nice pens or water bottles or something, you're going to go through them just in the trick-or-treaters. We like to kind of keep our good stuff back for the people that talk to us and put something cheap like candy or have some stickers made up for the trick-or-treaters, is what I like to call them. They're the ones that come because it's free. They have no intention of buying anything there, and they'll fill up bags of just free pens, water bottles.
My favorite is, what do you guys do?
Yeah. Oh, I don't
Okay,
need
bye.
That. I don't need that.
I don't need that.
But, I mean, one of the things that we do a lot, too, that we're big believers on for sales is continuing education.
Mhm.
You know, we take the people to trade shows to get them the right training. You've been to a couple. You've been to a couple classes. And then dressing the part, you know. I mean, if you come in dressed sharp, and it doesn't have to be in a suit and tie, but, you know, you can get nice dress pants cheap.
Yeah.
You can get shirts embroidered cheap.
Online for $9.
Come in your company logoed shirt with some looking nice, because if you're selling them and you sound good, you know what you're talking about, you're steering them in the right direction, you look the part. When that other competitor shows up in his truck that's got the box smashed in and his short sleeve or cut off shirt,
or
there's
name
definitely,
tags.
we've gotten a lot of bids that we were hired because they said, hey, we just,
Our
everything,
name
your trucks were
tags
clean.
Get compliments the most.
Yes. name tags too, and we
No,
believe
our
in them.
magnetic ones.
Yeah.
Everyone asks where we get them.
I big believer of having that name on there so that you look professional coming in and not they see a name tag. And same thing with our guys out in the field. They all have name badges and all that stuff. They can see and identify who the person is. It looks that much more professional, and they're not sitting there trying to wonder who is this person that's trying to come in,
Yeah.
into my business. So, I mean, dressing the part, going to the seminars, continually educating your people. They're an investment. If you're not going to pay for your sales staff to go.
Take notes in your classes. I recorded the whole class.
They normally don't let you do that.
Well,
I mean, you had
you still can take
you
notes.
had an in, so you can definitely take notes. A lot of people don't like you recording, but you had an in, so
Yeah.
that worked for you.
Don't worry, Guy. I'll send you the video someday.
You need to get that sent to them.
I will. It's a really long video. It's
You can send it to a Dropbox.
Yeah.
But, I mean, do you have
Coming your way.
anything?
What?
Anything else to add to some of your? I still think you should make a call.
camera
Show
shy.
these guys
I mean,
how to do
phone shy.
a script. Can you just go over what your script is when you're calling people? Can you do that
I
without
say
making a phone
hello.
call?
And I tell them my name and that I'm from Synergy, and if I could speak to anybody who's in charge of the maintenance outside. I would normally say outside because I say the maintenance. And they're like, "What
Well,
maintenance?"
parking
Like
lot
they think
maintenance.
we're like garbage men.
I would
something.
always.
So
I
I,
mean-
say the maintenance outside, which I'm feeling like that's a little awkward now. Like I
Yeah,
feel like I should.
you should
say
probably
something
change
else. Yeah, I should probably change that.
It's good to have a script. So it's good to type up an actual script for either you, your salespeople. You can tweak it.
I keep
I
it short
mean,
though.
Yeah, it should be short and simple. Hi, my name's Nick. I'm with Synergy Pavement Group. I was in your area the other day doing a bit across the street. I saw your parking lot needs some work. I was wondering who I'd talk to in your association that handles your parking lot maintenance.
Yeah.
And they're going to tell you, oh, that's Dave. Let me patch you through. Or, you're going to get people that are going to be like, oh, we don't handle that, or hang up on you. I mean, you're going to get that.
Yeah.
That's one thing where I think salespeople lose the most motivation is because you're going to get more hang-ups and people being rude to you, and you can't let it bother you. You have to push forward and just,
Yeah, my first
it's
day.
nothing personal.
Someone hung up on me, and I called them back the next day.
And they hung up on you?
No, I got to the person because I think they're just like what I do normally, and they're just like, oh, it's a sales call, and just like, especially if it's like a restaurant during lunch or like a hospital.
Yeah, you never, ever, ever, ever want to go in your restaurant calls. Do not, when you were talking about setting things up beforehand, if you're got a cluster that you're going to go visit for that day and there's mostly restaurants, you want to go after 3:00 or before,
Yeah, I set up times.
the lunch rush, because
I'll go to the restaurants first because that's like in the morning. Unless they open up at like 11 or something, like then I'll go in at like 2. Because I feel like, well, it
Yeah.
depends on the restaurant.
because we've all
Yeah.
been there. We've
We've
all
done that.
learned. I learned the hard way going into a restaurant
So did
at the wrong time. And
what restaurant did
you
you
want
go
to talk
into?
about, dude, this was 27 years ago. So I think it was a Blimpie's sub place.
Nice.
So
Oh,
I did.
that's another
Okay, so
thing?
like what you talked about how you have to sometimes fake it till you make it.
yeah.
So I went into, it was a Blimpie sub
Mhm.
in Cedar Rapids, and went in at lunchtime to make a cold call, not knowing, because I didn't have back then, you didn't have the education that you can get from people nowadays and all that stuff.
You went
So
in?
I went in to do my cold call right during lunch. But when I started getting some attitude, I just ordered lunch, even though I had already ate. I just ordered lunch and acted like, oh, yeah, no, I know that it's not right to come in and do a cold call during lunch, but I'm here eating lunch. So that's why I was just asking, and I kind of saved it. And I actually ended up getting the work
Oh,
and ended up doing like several Blimpies in the area. Because, yeah, kind of like you said, if you call somebody, they're kind of rude to you the first day, don't let that deter you to call them again. I mean,
Yeah,
maybe not so much the next day.
unless-
That was kind of ballsy, but like I've said
What'd you say?
before, I said that's kind of ballsy to call them the next day after you got.
well,
turned
okay,
down,
because
but
it's just,
if
it was a
works.
hospital and it was someone that like worked there, and I could, like, it's a hospital. So I'm feeling like the hospitals, I think you need to go more inside them. Because if you call them, it's like, what if it's like an emergency? Even though I called the non-emergency line, maybe she was just having a bad day.
But, and okay, so that brings up that made me think of something though. Like when you get into a lot of times hospitals now and other companies are starting to use management companies that handle that. So it goes back to the same thing. If you talk to them and they're like, oh, we don't do that. Ask them some questions. Like who does handle that?
Or like,
is there something, can you get me a phone number? Can you get me, I mean, I'm going to call it, there's two things that you have to have: ballsy sales and creative sales. I've even had a gatekeeper that was very, very hard to get through, but I wanted this job. I knew it was going to go, and it was a big job. So I went and got a couple gift cards for some restaurants and used that to get through her. Like, hey, if you could hook me up with who I need to get to do this work, I've got some gift cards here for you. And once again, it goes back into a ballsy sales because you have to be careful, because there are some people that take that as a bribe. Oh, you're bribing me? And there are some people that will just get mad at that. So you have to be careful. Read people. It goes back to, like we said, read people and,
you like slip them the card like this? Like,
no, I'm just like, hey, look, I really want this job. And if you could, hook me up with the information that I need, it's worth it to me to give you a couple gift cards if it's worth it to you.
Yeah.
And she was, of course it is.
I saw that.
But you have to be careful, because there are some companies that have a really, really strict policy for accepting gifts. They can't even accept an ink pen or a hat, or they could get fired. So you bring something like that, it's a 50-50. You might ruin your sale. So I'm not saying go do that and have you go in and do that the first time. Hey, Pavement After Hours told me to give you some gift cards. And then they're like, we can't accept these. They get pissed off you didn't get the work. That's not my fault.
Why would they get mad though for us like trying to be like, we're trying. I know. We're trying, man.
Right.
And then they're like,
most people don't.
Well, they can see like,
but there are people having bad days, and there are people that, Yeah. I've had people that have yelled at me for coming in to their parking lot because they're busy, whatever reason. They yell at me, and then literally, don't know if it's because I left the card and they thought, oh, you know what? Hey, I did need that. Or they just didn't put two and two together, but called 6 months later and, hey, we need to get a bid. Yeah. So, I mean, like I said, you can't take getting kicked out or yelled at personally. It's part of doing sales. And I think that kills a lot of people. I think people that start in sales are kind of afraid to go in and approach people. And then all it takes is a couple getting, nope, go, leave. No, I don't want any, not interested. And it just shoots their motivation down that they stop going in. Where a good salesperson is going to, like you said, chill out to a song for a minute, take a couple deep breaths, get yourself back in the right mind, and go approach that next sale.
Well, also, at the end of the day, they won't really know who you are.
That's true. That was one thing that I always said too. They don't remember. They literally, most people don't remember.
They don't remember, and like if you're outside of work and you're just like running into each other, they're not like, oh, that's the salesperson. And then like I just don't care. I'm like, okay, they're doing their job, but I'm also doing mine, so I'll call you next week.
Right. Well, and that's a good approach to have as a salesperson, though.
Maybe if it's like a Monday. Mondays I don't like going out because I feel like nobody wants to go to work. Well, Fridays are a good day to do sales. Everyone's like, excited. Want like the weekend.
But then you use Monday to set your week up.
Yeah.
That's your office day. Setting your weeks up, making some phone calls.
Yeah, the areas are definitely different.
I mean, it's a numbers game. To be a good salesperson, it's a numbers game. You're not going to make a sale just sitting in the office staring at a screen. You have to be making,
There's nothing really to do.
10 phone calls.
Send like an email.
You can use Mondays in the office for your follow-up. You use it for your follow-up.
Yeah, but I can get my follow-ups done in like an hour.
Right.
Call my people, talk to them,
But that's one of the good things about having a career in sales, though, because if it's like being your own boss, but yet not. If you can come in on a Monday and you can do your follow-up and you can set your stuff up in 4 hours,
I can leave.
You can leave. You can take the rest of the day off.
Or
as long as you're getting your stuff done. You've made your calls, you got your stuff done.
I'll go out.
Then hit it
more
hard on
places.
Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday for your sales. And
Yeah, that's another thing, is not just driving, like driving the parking lot and then be like, I'll call them. Unless it's like funerals, funeral homes, churches.
yeah, you got to keep a notebook. There are going to, like we said, you're not going to get rid of the phone calls. I mean, the best
Yeah, I
approach is
know.
stopping in, but
But,
you're
like,
not going to
go
get rid of the
inside.
phone calls because a church might be closed. A funeral home might be closed.
Yeah, that's what I said.
If they have a
Instead,
funeral, you
like,
don't want to
funeral.
walk in while a funeral's
That
going.
happened? No, it didn't happen, but I called the funeral home. They're like, yeah, you can stop in and leave your card. I don't think we have any funerals. And I'm going to this different place, and I passed that funeral home, and they're carrying out, like, the casket. I was like,
I hope you didn't go in.
no, I didn't go in. I didn't go. I'm like, they're setting me up here. I just went to my other place. I was like, this is a little Ako Taco.
Right.
Or walking the parking lot with them. 'Cause they describe it better than if you just wing it.
Well, always.
If I
I
didn't
don't
walk the
like-
parking lot with the last guy, I wouldn't know, 'cause he wanted them like certain parts not done.
Well, and there's a program that we have that if you can't get to the right person, that you can get the information connected to your bid, where you can put the camera on, it shows your bid, shows a picture of your face, and you can hit record and explain the bid, because we've had times where a person has asked for two different options. We put it in there as option A, B. The software that we were using at the time would put the whole total price in, and we missed out on it because they thought we were double the price when it was actually two different options. So you can explain in case that's not going to go to the person. And I always ask that in sales when you're walking the parking lot with them and all this stuff. Ask them, are you the decision maker?
Mm-hmm.
As if they say, no, this has to go up to my boss. Well, I try to get a meeting with their boss. If I can't get a meeting with their boss, at least you can use the program, and they've got several different programs that you can use. I'm going to pause so I'm going to have to figure out how to put that on mute.
Or maybe Hannah could come into her job.
Yeah, but then we'd hear her answering,
Oh.
so.
Hannah, no. No. Love you,
All right.
Hannah.
But I mean, there's several different softwares that you could get that you can have your face recording, talking about the bid, so that when it does get
Loom.
emailed, if it does get emailed up to a different person, they're seeing that when they open the bid of you explaining it to them. And I think that's a big thing. You can put in explaining your warranties, if you have a better warranty than your competitors and stuff like that.
Yeah, I was also thinking like Zoom.
Yeah, if you can get a Zoom meeting, that's always good.
Because on Zoom, you can like pull up and like show the bid on there.
Yeah.
So it's basically Loom, except they're also on there with you.
Right.
So you can talk to them and they can ask questions. Well,
If you
you're
can
already
get
on
it. People don't like, sometimes higher ups don't like the mundane activities.
like
That's
after
why they push it
2020,
off to somebody else to get a bid.
Everyone should be used to Zoom.
They are. But also as as the younger generation start taking over these positions
We're taking over.
for the parking lot work, it's going to be
Changes.
different. It's going to change. It's not going to be the same way. And I think a lot of older businesses are seeing that now, not only in the way of sales, but in the way of hiring. Our industry for like 100 years didn't change. And then I remember back in 1999, everybody freaked out because they put a computer screen on a paver. And then our industry didn't really change again for another 25 years. And now recently we've had a lot of changes in a short amount of time, from different sealers that are manufactured and how they're applied differently, a different approach in motivating and hiring workers, a different sales approach for those same, generation of workers, handle things different. I don't think you got to look at the opportunity. I think that the younger generation isn't so, they understand safety a little bit more instead of being cheap, and they understand their parking lot needs to get taken care of, and they understand that they got to they'd rather pay a little more to have it done the right way.
Yeah.
So you don't have to be the cheapest bidder. And I see a lot of times too, just because, and this is a bad habit a lot of people do, is once again, it goes back to the whole per square foot price. So they think that there's this magical, and I've seen this a ton of times. They think there's this magical square foot price, seal coating for 8 cents a square foot. And they go into this parking lot and they bid it for 8 cents a square foot. And then we get the work. We were 12 cents a square foot. And I'm using these numbers for example, because I'm sure somebody's going to be out there, 12 cents a square foot. And one half of the country is going to be like, that's expensive. And the other half of the country is going to be like, that's too cheap. I'm just using these numbers as examples. But they think that they didn't get that job because 8 cents a square foot was too expensive. So the next time they bid 7 cents a square foot. They do no costing. They don't figure anything out. They just assumed they lost it on price. And we actually sold the job and got the job higher dollars. Now you just keep going. And I know this because I've had people come up, how are you bidding it that cheap? I came in at X amount of square footage and you still got it. Yeah, well, we were higher than you. We were higher than you. I remember one job that I bid, we were like $50,000 for the job. And he's like, I have another bid for $8,000. I'm like, you got to show me the bid because something's wrong here, because this parking lot was huge and they had on there 600 feet of cracks. I went out and measured one crack that was down the joint, down the roadway, that was 1,000 feet. I said, so he's going to fill half of this crack and leave the rest, or he's going to hit you with add-ons. And that sold us the job. And the guy was like, how did you get it, Bob? We came in so cheap. Yeah, I was like 4 times, 5 times higher than you and still got the work. So it's not always about the price. And people need to stop thinking that it's always about the price and lowering their square footage and lowering it again where they didn't get the next one, and ask in your follow-up, hey, did we lose out because of price? What did we lose out for? Because we like to use that information to help educate our sales staff to know what we could do differently the next time.
Do you think getting other people's bids are important?
Are important?
Mm-hmm. Like seeing the other bids.
Yes. And there will be a huge debate on that they say that it's not fair and all that stuff, but
they could see ours.
Because we are, that we go the approach of like, hey, this is what your parking lot needs. I believe in like bid what the parking lot needs. And if it doesn't match your budget, come to us, tell us what your budget is, and let's see what we can do to critique it. But start off with what you need. And, yeah, I mean, I think especially if they come back to you and say, hey, you were 30% higher. Okay, well, could we look at the other bids to see and make sure you're comparing apples to apples?
Yeah.
I had one guy, no, it's comparing apples to apples. It is. And I finally talked him into, let's sit down and have a meeting, because I have no problem with losing the work to a reputable company doing the same thing we are. But I don't want to see you get, burned. And when we sat there, the bid was said, in the bid, we will use Naira, Sealmaster, Gem Seal, or Star Seal product. Named all of them. And I'm like, what that's leaving him to do, he's not spelling out how he's mixing his sealer. He's not spelling out what sealer they're using, if they're using coal tar or an asphalt emulsion. They're not spelling out how many coats they're using. And they're leaving this open that they can just use whatever the cheapest material is. They can just pick and choose. Oh, hey, Star Seal is going to give me this cheaper. This is the product we're going to use. And, take it for what it's worth. But I want to see it spelled out. I want to see how much sand you're using, how many coats you're putting down.
Do you put what kind of paint and stuff do you use?
Yeah, I put everything in there. That's part of it. The more, I don't want to, if I'm signing a contract, I don't want to sign a contract that just says going to seal and stripe your parking lot and doesn't say any terms. Pay me after it's done.
You keep it simple, like easy enough to
keep it simple, but you want to spell everything out that you're doing to protect you, to protect the customer. A lot of these bids that I see, sometimes it's like, it does not, in today's technology, it does not take that hard to have a good estimate. And, everybody should. That's not something to be like, oh, hey, I want to keep that to myself because that's an advantage to us. It actually hurts the industry when we're bidding against people that are like, and everything's spelled out and we're professional. We have X amount of dollars, and somebody else just gives them a handwritten piece of paper estimate that says, we'll seal coat and paint parking lot for $1,000. That hurts the industry.
Yeah.
Because people are naturally
I feel like
want to
aren't you
go cheaper,
losing,
but are important.
like, seeing the other bids?
Yes. And there will be a huge debate on that they say that it's not fair and all that stuff, but
They could see ours.
because we are that we go the approach of like, hey, this is what your parking lot needs. I believe in like bid what the parking lot needs, and if it doesn't match your budget, come to us, tell us what your budget is, and let's see what we can do to critique it. But start off with what you need. And yeah, I mean, I think especially if they come back to you and say, hey, you were 30% higher. Okay, well, could we look at the other bids to see and make sure you're comparing apples to apples?
Yeah.
I had one guy, no, it's comparing apples to apples. It is. And I finally talked him into, let's sit down and have a meeting, because I have no problem with losing the work to a reputable company doing the same thing we are. But I don't want to see you get, burned. And when we sat there, the bid was said in the bid, we will use Naira, Sealmaster, Gem Seal, or Star Seal product. Named all of them. And I'm like, what that's leaving him to do, he's not spelling out how he's mixing his sealer. He's not spelling out what sealer they're using, if they're using coal tar or an asphalt emulsion. They're not spelling out how many coats they're using. And they're leaving this open that they can just use whatever the cheapest material is. They can just pick and choose. Oh, hey, Star Seal is going to give me this cheaper. This is the product we're going to use. And, take it for what it's worth. But I want to see it spelled out. I want to see how much sand you're using, how many coats you're putting down.
Do you put what kind of paint and stuff do you use?
Yeah, I put everything in there. That's part of it. The more, I don't want to, if I'm signing a contract, I don't want to sign a contract that just says going to seal and stripe your parking lot and doesn't say any terms. Pay me after it's done.
You keep it simple, like easy enough to
keep it simple, but you want to spell everything out that you're doing to protect you, to protect the customer. A lot of these bids that I see, sometimes it's like, it does not, in today's technology, it does not take that hard to have a good estimate. And, everybody should. That's not something to be like, oh, hey, I want to keep that to myself because that's an advantage to us. It actually hurts the industry when we're bidding against people that are like, and everything's spelled out and we're professional. We have X amount of dollars, and somebody else just gives them a handwritten piece of paper estimate that says we'll seal coat and paint parking lot for $1,000. That hurts the industry.
Yeah.
Because people are naturally
I feel like
want to
you
go cheaper,
losing money doing that?
Yeah, but that kind of goes back to
not
like
you, but like
well,
them.
yes. There's a lot of people in our industry, and that's one of the reasons why we started this podcast, to help educate people. So I see a lot of times people are just bidding cheap, and then they're calling me in wintertime, hey, do you want to buy any equipment? I have all my seal coat stuff up for sale. And they're selling it over the wintertime to survive through the wintertime, and then they're trying to buy it up in spring again when they start getting some work. Or everybody wants to travel south, which that's a different episode. And yeah, we'll save that for a completely different episode.
Don't we travel south?
We don't travel south. We have a location south, but we did travel south at one time. And that's why I'm saying this is a completely different episode that we'll get into that. And you can come back and be on that episode, because I know you've got a lot of opinions on traveling south. Like, you don't even want to go to the state of Florida for work, or for vacation.
I hate Florida.
So, yeah, but anyways, we're going to wrap. I think we covered pretty much everything, and we'll wrap her up. And like I said, if you enjoyed the episode, follow us on social media and tune in for the next one.
After hours.